currently in the dead period of the NFL offseason where basically nothing happens. The only thing that happens during this time of the offseason is, you start hearing people getting released or getting in trouble off the field and stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. It's a very boring time of the season if you're a diehard NFL fan like myself, or if you're a diehard Vikings fan looking for news, waiting for stuff to come out, and when is JJ McCarthy going to sign his rookie deal and yada, yada, yada. Well, it's also a time for us to kind of dive in and look at potential additions to the team, maybe look at what we need to do this season and maybe some film stuff and all those other things. And today we're going to look at something that I came across of potentially adding a player. Could the Vikings be making one last move? Well, I think it's just a rumor. It really isn't anything. It's just somebody at ESPN basically said, hey, here's one last move for all 32 teams. And he listed the Vikings as making one move offensively that I think would be a pretty decent one, pending the how much money we would have to pay this guy. But Hunter Renfrow. The Vikings could look into signing Hunter Renfrow to shore up that slot receiving position, the wide receiver 3 role, even though we do have Brandon Powell. But the other two behind Brandon Powell and Tristan Jackson, I believe, and then Jalen Naylor is also another one. We could look to add somebody else, maybe a little bit more firepower, especially if we don't trust Jalen Naylor or Tristan Jackson. We could also move Brandon Powell back on the depth chart where we know Hunter Renfrow has been in the NFL for a longer period of time. He's been the number 1 on the Las Vegas Raiders. He's done some pretty good things, and he stays consistent for the most part. So let's get right into it. Before we do, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And also, got the new jersey today. These things are absolutely sweet. Very, very clean. If you haven't got one, I would recommend it if you can afford it. These things are awesome. Feels a little weird on the shoulders, but definitely worth the money. I'm going to, be changing some things up here behind me. In the meantime, we're going to keep it similar, but let's get right into the Hunter Renfrow possibility of maybe ending up on the Vikings. So, teams around the National Football League will soon be putting the final touches on the rosters ahead of the start of training camp. And a name that has become familiar to Minnesota Vikings fans this offseason has surfaced again. Behind the great ESPN paywall, former Football Outsiders lead writer Aaron Schatz has suggested one last move for each of the 32 NFL teams to cap their off seasons. For the Purple, he suggests a move that others have suggested previously, that being the signing of free agent wide receiver Hunter Renfrow to round out the receiving core. Here is what Aaron Schatz basically wrote about this situation. He said Brandon Powell had an average receiving DVOA on 44 targets in 2023, but his 324 receiving yards represented a career high after 6 years in the league. There are a lot of inexperienced players after him on the depth chart, plus a veteran Trent Sherfield. Sorry, I messed up that name at the beginning. That is my fault. I completely forgot. I knew it started with a T. Okay, I knew that. But anyways, Trent Sherfield only caught 11 catches in Buffalo last season. Okay. Now, Minnesota could use a veteran slot receiver who knows how to get open underneath, while Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are stretching defenses, right? Deep threats. Now, Randall Cobb would be another possibility, although he turns 34 in August. I do not see the Randall Cobb signing as being one that could come to fruition. That just seems out of the realm of possibility. He's getting up there in age. What is his production going to look like? And I think he would much rather just ride off into the sunset than play for the Minnesota Vikings, who was his longtime rival when he was a Green Bay Packer. Although the money could bring him over here, I just don't think that would happen, and I don't think the Vikings would look at bringing in such an older veteran as Randall Cobb this season. But all things considered, if it came down to a choice between Renfrow and the fossilized husk of Randall Cobb, like this article says, I'd go with Renfrow too. Again, this is not the first time that the suggestion of the Vikings signing Renfrow has been floated out there. Bill Barnwell, another Football Outsiders alum that writes for ESPN, suggested the same move following the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, personally, I still think it would be a solid addition to the roster at this point. Nobody that you're signing in free agency is going to break the proverbial bank. And Renfrow has shown his ability as a slot receiver despite being largely forgotten by the Raiders over the past couple of years. That solely being that's solely happening due to the fact that they have Davante Adams, right? Davante Adams, one of the best receivers in the NFL, not the best, because that is this guy right here, Justin Jefferson, also wearing this jersey of his. But we still have a little bit more than a month before everyone reports to Egan for training camp. Now, I'm sure the Vikings will do a few tweaks to the roster between now and then. So I'll ask you guys, do you think that any of them will involve Hunter Renfrow? Would you like the Minnesota Vikings to go out there and take a chance on Renfrow if it's a cheap addition? And I think it would also help our offense out a little bit. I'm not saying we have to make this move. I'm not saying it'd be a great addition to the team, but I think it'd be a smart move if you're looking to shore up that wide receiver 3 spot and not just have to roll with Brandon Powell. And I'm not saying Brandon Powell is bad by any means, but we could look for a better addition if we want more firepower offensively. I think Hunter Renfrow would be a fantastic choice. Not saying it's going to happen, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the possibility of Hunter Renfrow signing with the Minnesota Vikings? Let me know down below in that comment section. Also, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much appreciated. Have a great rest of the night, folks, and Skol Vikes.